Okay, here we are, episode 2. How's it going, Greg?
Good, man. Another week in the books, huh?
Yeah, how did your week go? I seen you posted some stuff in the Discord there about a payout.
Yeah, good week. It seems like Apex's big thing is to deny a payout, then approve a payout, but that was the biggest one I've done yet with Apex, so pretty good week.
How much was it?
$1,850, just under 2,000 the max.
Oh, you can't complain about that. How long did it take? Is that so you tried it before and they denied you, but then they approved you this time?
Yeah, I did about 10 days of trading, but I had one day that just slammed really hard and hit right over that 30% rule. And then I just started over again, did another 10 days of trading, but made sure that I kept my take profit and stop loss right where I needed it to, and just
Oh
did a
yeah.
steady, two, 300 a day.
But even though they denied you last time, you still got that money. It just took you another 10 days of trading to get it, right?
Yeah, because they want to see another 10 days of consistent trading, and then you just keep on building on whatever your last profit was.
Okay.
So yeah, I
So
think
you
it was
don't
just over.
What did you request last time? You requested less, obviously, right?
Yeah, I think I did like 1,950 last time. I think it was like 50. I wanted to be like, I don't want to do the max, but I'll just do $50 under the max. And then it went right into review. And I know when it does that, they take about a week to finally get the response out denied. But this last one, I think I did it on Friday, and it's approved now already. I mean, instantly.
Well, hey, can't complain about that. Are you with anybody else for prop firms at the moment? I've only, you know
Yeah,
me, I'm only with Apex, but um, who else are you with? MFF?
Yeah, I've been dabbling with my funded futures, and I've got one funded account with them. I've done Blue Knox quite a bit back in the day when I was just, practicing because they have real cheap evals, and I
Yeah.
got a payout from them. I think an $1,100 payout from them too, so they paid out pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's pretty good. Okay. So, yeah, I'm going to share my screen
So how
here.
did last week go? Yeah, how did last week go? What did we do last week?
So, surprisingly, what we made new highs there on the NQ. We're just hovering basically, no, hovering just over highs. So today, Sunday, we've opened up, we've pulled back. This is the daily. We also have I got the 4 hour here. So yeah, we opened up, pulled back right into all time highs, and now we've bounced back up. So that is a very, very strong, very bullish looking move. By the looks of it, it seems like it'll probably do this all night and then maybe have a nice sell off in the morning as people wake up and the market opens above all time highs there from last week. Same with the ES. Pulled back, tested highs, kept going. Despite the news the government shut down, um, you know what? Remember we were talking about YM last week? Finally,
Yeah,
last week, we did it. We broke highs. YM's been nice though. Look nice, steady. That's just like a
still
perfect
writing that
uptrend, right?
trend. Yeah,
Grinding,
still
very,
writing
very
that trend.
grindy. But yeah, riding that. RTY. Let's see. Still haven't broke all time highs on RTY, but we wicked above that most recent pivot there. Gold. Remember, it had that huge run after all this consolidation here. Nice huge run, and it's still going. So generally, we don't always see that. When the market's pushing, you don't generally see gold pushing as well.
No,
But
no.
sometimes you do. Sometimes you do. But generally, money usually comes out of these and into stocks. Because they're different risk. Gold is less risk, less reward, right? But when times are tough, money's usually going into gold. So it's funny to see stocks breaking all-time highs and gold doing that little bit of a rush as well. And then oil, just been in this range, 68, 61, so right in the mid 60s. It's been there for a while. Um, I haven't been following oil as much, but generally, with the type of government you have in the U.S., it's Generally, the oil prices go down with that one, and then if you go on the other side of the aisle, when they're in power, it usually goes up. But yeah, as you can see at the top on Market Watch, everything's opened and it's gone shot way up for Sunday open.
Jeez.
And yeah, on the left we have the shorts and longs differences. It's funny, and at least on my data feed, 83% of people are short on the Dow. So that's funny to see. And then yeah. So hey, you ever seen this on the right here that I got depth chart? Have you ever used
No,
that
I
on
was
the
going
day
to
trader?
ask you what is that exactly? I know the other two, but I've not seen those before.
Yeah. So it shows you. Okay, so I use it sometimes. It's kind of interesting. Right now the market's pretty even, but if you get into like real time hours, you'll see more differences here. So yeah, you got your price in the middle, and it's like looking at a DOM, right? If I bring up, I'll show you real quick, and then we can get into more news here in a sec. Um, like the what's it called, Super DOM.
Yeah.
Okay, so okay, there you go. So it's similar to the DOM where you can see, okay, here's the price, the last price in the middle. And then it shows you the volume as you get going. So here you can see on the Super DOM, it's got 8 there, 5 here, 6 here, 6 here on the NQ. It's the same thing, but just a different view. So if you were to tip this DOM on its side, you would see, you can see here for the NQ, price 25.0670. And then it'll show you the volume. So on the left is volume and on the right is volume. So this is above or sell orders, right? And this is buy orders. That's why it's green, but it's below the market. So you see 20. If I were to look here, 25.67, go straight up, I would see that there's 70 orders at 25.67. Or if I go
Yeah,
down
and
to
there's like slightly more
25.61,
sell orders coming in.
yeah, and there's always more usually more as you go. But what you look for is you look for a high step. So right now you could see, if you want to look for levels, you see how there's a high step kind of right here, right at that 90.
Yeah.
Right here. So that's what you look for, because you'll see all of a sudden, you go one tick ahead, and then all of a sudden it goes from like 50 resting orders to like 90. So that's how you look. Right now it's pretty even, especially on the left there. But yeah, so it just it shows you where walls in the orders are. So that's how I use it. I look for a huge step, like, you know what I mean. If it's 50 orders here, and then you go one tick above and it's like 100, there's a huge wall of orders sitting there. So it's just a different way to view the DOM. But this new DOM they had, I think they brought this out in the spring. It shows you a little bit of a volume bar on it, as you can see. They never used to have that, so this is new this year. Having the volume right there in the DOM. And you can see how you can set your orders just like that, but I'm not going to do that. So
Really creative.
yeah, so that's that. What else is going on around the market? What's up with news? I haven't been following as close as I should be.
Well, they're talking about, our wonderful government shutdown. I mean, overall, we had a pretty decent week overall. We did hit, all-time highs, but everything kind of finished up about a point and a half across the board. For the most part, though, we do have some of our red folder news coming in, but the big thing is if we do the government shutdown, they're saying that they're not going to be able to do the FOMC minutes, and that might even lead into like CPI. All that might be actually pushed off into the following week if they do end up pausing this and we have a shutdown. So that is something that might happen.
That's interesting. What are they arguing about, anyways?
Well, it's mainly over just what their cap is. Typically it's like a spending cap. They'll have to agree to it. Usually they do a continuation until they can come up with an agreement. But sometimes if you have an aggressive president and they're like, no, it's my way or no way, and we have that here, of course, that's what you're going to see, I mean, but believe it or not, the last time we had a shutdown, we did actually pretty well. So what a lot of the markets and some of the market pulse, news outlets are talking about is, man, if we get a dip, if we get a significant pullback because of the news of the shutdown, people are going to start buying that dip up pretty quickly. So take advantage of it if it does come.
Well, Here's the thing: if you shut down and there's no news, there's no bad news either, right? So that could be good news. No news is good news, right? So if you can't do any of the red folder news, then nothing can take it down. Um, what do we got? Are we coming into earnings here soon? Did you look up? Do you have earnings up?
Let me see if I can pull up earnings real quickly. That I can do.
Earnings Whisperer. I think Richard was saying
What?
we're getting into some earnings this week. I don't know for sure.
Let's see, we're
It.
showing last week's earnings, but no, I don't have this current news here. I'm trying to find it.
Okay, I have it here. Yeah, we got okay. So here I got some. I got some news. So nothing going on. So Monday we got
Yeah.
AEHR and STZ, Constellation Brands. Okay, that's really nothing. Um, Industries, electronics, just random companies.
Yeah, nothing major, nothing like
Stuff.
AMD or nothing
Uh,
crazy.
Applied Digital Corporation. Nothing on Friday. So yeah, there's no real big
No.
news. If we do have
And
red folder news, what do we got? If you don't shut, when is the shutdown? What
yeah.
day? If it does happen.
Well, they don't have it written out yet. It's pretty much going to be at the early of the week if they can't come up with an agreement because we've got on, what is it, Wednesday is FOMC meeting. And if they shut down by then, I think that's about the date that they're talking about. If we're shut down by either, I think it's late Tuesday, early Wednesday, if they can't come up with a continuation agreement, then there will be no FOMC. And then that's also going to have a delay in the CPI that's coming out on Thursday. So those are the only two major things that are coming out Wednesday, FOMC, and then Thursday, we've got CPI coming out. But again, it's all dependent on what happens with the government shutdown right now. So that's right now, we're just kind of at these all time highs and we're looking to see what happens up in these areas right now.
Yeah, it's showing me on Econo Day. It's showing me delayed for all the red folder news. It has delayed for all the U.S. news. So it's
Yeah.
delayed, delayed, delayed. So I don't know if they're just saying that. But that only starts on Wednesday, so that makes me think Monday and Tuesday they're going to be talking about it, and it could be delayed by Wednesday. We still have Jolt's U.S. farm prices, PMI Tuesday, home sales, Fed manufacturing survey on Monday. So we
Yeah,
may
they're
still
saying
get those.
12:01 a.m. On Wednesday. That's it. So literally
Yeah.
late Tuesday night. So 12, 12 in the morning on Wednesday. That's when it'll happen, and that's why everything is starting to really be delayed. They're talking about maybe delaying until the 15th for CPI readings if we get delayed like this and we get shut down.
Oh yeah.
So fun times.
Yeah. Anyways, what else? What's going on?
All right, as far as charts go, man, I mean, we are just, I think, screaming along right now. I'm looking at my charts right now. I mean, if we look at how we kind of like peaked up at it, we got a really good double top on NQ. ES didn't really have that. It kind of peaked out. It did finally cross and hit all-time highs, but then it just immediately shut down. But we, are still in a pretty good pattern when we're holding our levels. It's really respecting the levels as best as we can. And right now, as we kind of start approaching these levels, we have a ways to go still. So we've got room to go up here overnight. And I think that's what we're going to see. We're going to maybe see a good steady increase as we go. And then you know how Asia can be. And in any moment's time, as London starts to open up, I think that's when we're going to start seeing people taking profits. And, people are going to wake up to a pretty down market. And then just the question leads is, do we open and stay going down and we continue that way, or do we kind of reverse that overnight trading a little bit? So that's kind of what we're looking at for in the morning on Monday.
Okay, I'll be watching. Right now, it looks like you had some good trades on your chart, though. Eh? You could have took.
Yeah, look at how
Flowing pretty
this is
good.
why I love the gamma bars, man. This is my absolute favorite thing. I have
Yeah,
it on
me
every one
too.
of my charts, and I mean, look at how smooth this is. When you get a shift signal, I mean, it holds, and yeah, you might get into some consolidation, but you wait and then you get out of that consolidation. You know when you see it. You can quickly see what's happening
Yeah.
when you get that consolidation. But when you start to break out of it, man, it breaks out and it just you could ride it so well with this.
Well, you can definitely get a better risk reward. I mean, you can see on the left that bear shift, and you can see on the far right the bullish. You can see you
Yeah.
could probably get a 3 or 4 to 1. So even if you do get chopped up a little bit,
Yeah, if you're trying
um,
to like catch this reversal here and then you get chopped up here and there, get back into it. You know, that's always, I think, the best thing. If you believe in your setup and you do happen to get wicked out because NQ will do that to you, get back into it. Believe in your setup, believe in your strategy. That's the biggest thing. You know, it's a numbers thing. You might hit 9 losses in a row because that's just what your strategy allots for. You might get them back to back, but then usually those numbers work out and you have to just stick with your strategy, I think. That's, I think, what a lot of people mistake. They get a couple of losses and they jump right to another strategy.
yeah. What did you do with your mobile meter at the top? It looks different than what I'm used to, and I think I might have known
I
what
think it's just
settings you did.
because of the candles. Yeah, I think it's just because of the
Oh, you know
candles.
what? It's just how it looks on gamma bars, then, eh? Because
Yeah,
you can smooth the Momo meter, right? So it's not
yeah,
so choppy and it flows a little better. There
yeah.
is
I think on like
smoothing.
a normal, yeah, on a normal Hakanashi, it's a little bit more smoother. But you know, you can, you know, look at this. Like this is the perfect setup right here. Is we're just coming down from a perfect, you know, bearish shift signal, and then we either hit a level, but then everything is just completely flattened out. That is the setup that we want the bot to
Yeah.
be programmed to trade right here. That is just
Or
a
well,
beautiful
that's a
setup.
double bottom. You had a double bottom there right before the power shift,
Yeah,
and but you could see stochastics and money flow was way higher, so you had divergence there. You
yeah.
pretty much had a double bottom, but momentum didn't even come down nearly half as far as it did for the first run there. So you can definitely see the divergence coming in there for that long play.
Yeah, and then you know, as we're closing and then even kind of opening here, you know, we get into a little bit of chop, but then as soon as we clear that after the pullback when we first opened up, it's just been straight going ever since.
What settings you got there for gamma bars?
Um, these are on like a 45, so they're nothing too high of a level, but it's just a 45 on the gamma bars, and then everything else is just standard the way it comes by default. I do love this pulse though. I love being able to just sit back and look and compare, you know, where money is flowing into, where it might be flowing out of. I mean, that's something that I think is key because, like you said, typically if the NQ is flying up, gold's usually on a downtrend. Those two are usually inversely correlated for the most part.
Yeah, generally, but that's why it's good to, like I used to do when I was trading a little bit more, get a feel for the market because
Well,
sometimes they
that
are inversely correlated, but sometimes they're not. But the way you figure that out is by just watching the market, being in tune with it. You know what I mean? Figuring out are we in correlation right now or are we not?
well, that's when your trading style, when we first kind of met and we started trading together, that was one of the things that I even fought at first. I was like, man, that is just way too many charts on one window that anybody should have. But then when I started doing it and I started applying that to be able to have that visual representation of a slightly higher time frame and a lower time frame and being able to see the entire market, you can actually see, is there something leading? Does something make a move and then these others follow it? And are these like, is RTY and gold inversed in this, you know, regard? So you can actually see that and follow it. And ever since I started doing that, it's just really given me an eye opening on what's happening with the market.
Yeah, that's something that I spent a lot of time doing. You know, me, I spent a lot of time in market replay, almost a year. But then within that year, I think I did about 3 years of actual market replay because I could do a couple of years in a year. I could probably do 3 years per year per real year. So,
Yeah, I think
uh, yeah, and I always had them all up because that was the strategy I was trading. And you just get to feel these things. You can just see like when they're all moving together, when they're not. And yeah, it seems like a lot at first if you're watching all the minis and you're watching gold and you're watching oil, but the thing is you're not watching everything all at once. You're watching for certain things at certain times, and it gets easier. The more you do it, it's like anything, you know what I mean? It's like driving a truck, right? You drive truck. You know, at first it's like holy, you got to, You got an automatic, but back in the day you had standards, right? So you had to know all the gears. Were you in high? Were you in low? Your air pressure you got to watch. You got a huge trailer. I mean, it's a lot. But then eventually you get better at it. It gets easier. So I mean, for me that's just how it goes. And for anybody too. I mean, I had 2 time frames, all the minis, golden oil, and yeah, like I said, you just do one little thing at a time, and eventually you just get good at it. You get used to it. Humans are smart. I mean, you catch on with enough time. So,
Well, I think somebody asked me a question about that. Like, what were some of the things that you went through when you really first started wanting to be serious about trading? Because getting to your level where you're trading full time for your living, you make that your full time job. That's a dream every single one of us aspire to do, whether it's
yeah.
a part time gig or full time. How did you get to that point?
Well, first thing I'd say is I'd recommend just not doing it. Because it's tough,
Okay.
dude. Without any other income, dude, it's stressful. It's tough. Um, I had more fun before I went full time trading. I mean, that was always the goal, but there was no, when I was doing a lot of market replay and getting all my data and everything like that, I honestly had more fun doing that than I did full time trading. And but I wouldn't go back. I wouldn't not do it. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's stressful. It's hard, and you know what? You never really. It's tough. Like you think, okay, when I was learning, okay, I had the dream that everybody else did. Full time trader. Okay, that's cool. Um, and you know what? I started to ask myself as I was doing. I had a strategy, and it was very well defined, and I was doing a lot of replay, and the numbers were working out, just like it should. Some weeks were up, some weeks were down. Not too many months were down. I don't think there was, maybe once in a while, maybe once every 9 months or so, once every 9 or 10 months, I would have a down month. But the thing is, on replay, you could do it quick, and it made it easier because I could do like a whole month. I could do that in almost a week, a little bit more than a week. I think it would take me to replay a whole month worth of data. So I got going. I had 6 months, 8 months, and I started to think to myself like, okay, I got 8 months of good replay data, solid numbers. I was like, okay, so when am I ready to go full time? At what point? How much data do you need? And it's going to be different for everybody. But the
Yeah,
thing
when do you
that,
say that you're ready? You know?
yeah, like what point are you ready? So first of all, I mean, for me, I'm not really a big risk taker. So I couldn't just go by feel. Like I had to have something that I could trust. And it's something that's repeatable and definable or replicatable. So, you know what I mean? And that's something I think a lot of traders miss is like you got to be doing something that you can repeat. And then the question comes up, well, how do I find out how to do something that's repeatable? Well, you got to measure the market, and this is why I use indicators. Is because it measures the markets. So you got to be able to measure the market, and you got to be able to know when your measurements are within a certain range, and you're only trading during that time, and that's how you trade in a way that's repeatable. And those indicators can be anything. I used a lot of order flow, um, order speed, momentum, and there would be a certain range where I trade, and there's a certain range where I don't trade. And there's some days where I don't take any trades. When I went live, maybe one trade or none. And it sucked, but the market wasn't, my measurements weren't within the range that I needed to trade, so I couldn't trade. So when I was doing replay, I mean, that was a big thing, was making sure that what I was doing in replay, if I wanted to go live, I would be able to repeat that going live. So, and how did I decide? Like, I mean, I got comfortable with losing. I think that was it for me. And sometimes so I'd like record my trades on paper, right? Win, loss, a couple of indicators, values at the time of my win, time of day, blah, blah, blah. And it got to the point, I was just scalping, but it got to the point where I could write down a win or write down a loss before the trade even played out. I swear to God, I have it recorded on my other YouTube. because I used to record my sessions too, right? And I would write
Yeah.
it down. I would have a notepad when I was streaming, and I would write down if it was a win, if it was a loss. Dude, I swear to God, I did it a number of times. I would write down, okay, this trade's a win before it won. I'd write down this one's a loss before it lost. And you would think, well, why did you take the trade if you knew it was going to lose? Because that was my strategy. I wasn't always right, you know. Sometimes I would,
Yeah, it
I
would
was,
turn around.
yeah. So, but the point was, I wasn't deciding whether to trade or not. I had a strategy and I followed it, and that's why. So, but yeah, there were certain things I would see, and I would just write down a win before it even won. And you know what? I was probably more than 90% right on those occasions. But yeah, so I mean, I got to that point, so yeah, I got a lot more comfortable. But then also, the numbers started working out. So, like I said, not every week's a winning week, not every day's a winning day. But once I got comfortable with that, once I got comfortable, hey, you know what? I got so many losses. I would know, hey, you know, if I've been in drawdown for a week and a half on replay, I would know, okay, well, you know what? Chances are by the end of this week, I'm going to start getting my wins. And I would. Same thing when I started winning. If I had a good, like, 3-week run or something like that without any down weeks, I would say, yeah, we're pretty much due for a flat or a down week. And then I would get it. So I got to the point where I could anticipate what numbers I was going to get based on what the last 3, 4, 5 weeks had been. And I was comfortable with it. You know what I mean? Once I got through, like I said, once I got 3 weeks of, like, you know, good positives, I would say, okay, like, almost guaranteed this week's going to be a losing week just because those are the numbers. I know my percentages and those were the numbers. And sure enough, that week would be a losing week. But you know what? I traded anyways because you just never know. And I was there being disciplined, following my strategy to the T, and that was my job. My job wasn't to think or to decide or to go, oh, you know, this, that. No, my strategy was so defined that that was my only job, was to follow that strategy, nothing else. So for me, having something that's defined, having something that's repeatable, and then I got to the point where I was comfortable enough that I knew when the losses, I would have a good idea when I would start getting losses and a good idea when I would start getting wins. And, you know, by the time you have a stack of 40, 50 papers with years worth of data, doing the same thing over and over and over and over, you get pretty comfortable. So for me, that was it. That was what got me to going full-time live. And yeah, it was still scary, but everything was working out. I didn't know the difference. That was the other thing. I treated replay. I was disciplined. I treated it like the live market. So once I went live, I didn't know the difference. I didn't understand the difference. There was no emotion because I had been going for years in replay, and it's just sim. It's just sim money, right? So there's no emotion there. So then once I went live, I had a bunch of prop firms that I had passed, but I was hodling them. You know what I mean? I kept them. I didn't trade them until I felt confident enough that I was ready to trade them. And then I would start one at a time, just trading one. I had 20 of them, right? And I would just trade one for a little bit just to get comfortable. K2, K3, 5, 6, 8. And eventually I worked my way up to trading 20 of them. And it just, you just got to take your time with it, man. That's it. So from when
Well,
I
you
first
based
started,
Riptide off of your strategy for the most part, right? I mean, that's kind of like a lot of you is into Riptide, I believe, isn't it?
yeah, a lot of what I do is a lot of things that I see in the market have been due to a bunch of strategies that I've tried over the years. So I'll see certain things and I'll relate them to other strategies that I've tried, but don't necessarily still use. Like watching footprint charts, I'll know. You know, I can know what a stacked imbalance looks like. I can see where the market's thin or where it's thick, like a lot of volume. And yeah, so a lot of that's that. I had another strategy when I first went live, and I ended up shifting over to this just because what I was doing worked, but it wasn't super profitable, but it worked, and I was confident. So I moved over to trading like what you see here, the Riptide stuff, just because I could make more doing it, and I had the time because I wasn't working to test it longer. So, you know, I could replay 5 days. I could replay a week and a day, not working a job, right? So that really helped. But that's basically it, man. If I could give anybody like a takeaway, it's going to be just something that's repeatable. And to find something repeatable, you got to measure the market. You got to measure momentum. You got to measure speed of price. You got to measure where you are in relative to where we were. So if it's VWAP, if it's a moving averages, you got to know where you are relative to where you were. And you'll find your own stuff eventually, but that's what it is for
Well,
me.
I think that's where our indicators and where AutoX Bot and GeneratorX come into play at, because I think a lot of people aren't as disciplined as you are, because I'm not as disciplined as you are, and I've done pretty well recently. But what I think AutoX Bot in this does for you, though, is you're able to define what works, those variables. You can define those variables of what you're looking for specifically, these set of circumstances to happen. And I think within as high a degree of accuracy as I think you're able to do at this point in time in technology, is put that into Generator, put that into AutoXbot, let it manage your trade.
Yeah.
And now it's doing it for you. Whether you're doing it semi-automated or fully automated, that doesn't matter. The point is you can customize those signals to where you don't want to see 20 master buys and master signal 1, master signal 2. You want to see 3 or 4 of them on one major leg down. Like you basically have it here. You've got several shift and a continuation, a shift, just a shift. That's what you want to see. You don't want to see a bunch of these buy and sell signals, because if you do, that means the market's kind of like this and it's going all over the place. You're going to get wicked out. You want to see this kind of consistency right here in the market. And I think you're able to do that with our products.
Yeah, you can. And I guess the good thing about Autobot and Generator is that, like I said, you can define it. It's completely defined, right? That's how the auto trader trades. It trades based on defined parameters, right? So I think for anybody, I think it's just, if I had this when I first started, like 8.5 years ago, I would probably be a lot further along. Not that I'm complaining, but I'd be a lot further along just because I would be starting off with something defined. And then as time goes on, you can you get a feel for the market, you get in tune with it, and then you can kind of start using your intuition. But that takes years to build. I'm telling you, like for me to write down when a trade was going to be a winner before it was a winner, that took years. You know what I mean? That doesn't happen in months. That happens after years and years of watching candles, of watching the first hour of market open. Like it's crazy. So I don't think it's worth anybody's time to go any other way other than doing something like what we have. You know what I mean? Like defining it, and even if it's semi-automated, that's fine. But at least starting off with something that's definable and repeatable. And then over time, you can add stuff in, add your own indicators, maybe add your own discretion, or, there's a lot of things you can change up. But to understand in the very beginning and to learn, I think it's the best way to do it is to use some kind of automation or semi-automation where you can customize it and play with it yourself and get into that habit of like, oh, I'm not making the decision to trade. I'm measuring conditions and I'm betting on that condition, right? I'm betting when, if you use standard deviations of VWAP, right? So you're going to bet, once this happens and you're at the third standard deviation of VWAP between 10 and 12, this is generally what happens. And then from there, you don't win all the time. From there, you just adjust your risk reward and your position sizing to give yourself a profitable trade, right? So that's another thing that I learned a lot. Like people look at risk reward, like you're risking $100 to make 200 or whatever, and that's fine. But if you start small, you can also skew it with position sizing. So after you get so many losses, maybe 2 in a row or 3 in a row, you can up your size because your probability of getting how many losses in a row. That probability if you're doing the same trades over and over, and you can skew your risk reward that way. So say you got a 1-to-1, right? You got to win half and lose half to break even. But if you lose 3 in a row and then size up a little bit after that third loss, then you can kind of skew that, so you don't have to win. You don't have to win as much to still make profit. So I think that was another thing was learning about risk reward. profit win-loss ratio, and then skewing that with position sizing. A lot of people are starting, like, their starting position size would be like what the max that they're willing to lose. And I don't recommend that. I recommend starting at half or less. You know, if you're willing to lose $50 in a trade or $100 in a trade, let's say, start off by losing 25 in a trade. Position yourself to do that. And then after so many losses, size up to 50, a $50 loss. So you double your size. But then if you win, you double your win as well. So I should probably do a class on that. Risk reward, win-loss ratio, and then skewing that with position sizing. Because that's
Well,
something
yeah,
a
because
lot of people
that
haven't really
really,
done.
yeah, because that honestly really surprised me when I started trading with you personally. Is, your day, a good day for you is, a 50, 60, $70 day, and you're on top of the world. Because people have to realize you're doing this times 20 accounts. And I get that that takes a while to get there, but even at 3 accounts or 5 accounts, the way that we like to trade isn't sexy. It isn't a 2,000 or $1,500 day. It is $100 day is an insanely good day for us. $150 day is really great for us because that's slow and steady growth, but multiplying across multiple accounts, even several of them, that adds up and it makes a difference. You don't get there in the next week or the next month, but you will get there.
Yeah, I mean, I always looked at what it would be times 5 accounts times 10 accounts when I was doing my replay, and for a good, it was almost a year. I had 20 accounts. I had never traded. I had 20 passed on Apex. I didn't ever trade them for probably about 8 months. I just held them. I didn't use them. And you can kind of cheat it. You can kind of pass in one trade, right? That's all I did is I just took one huge trade and I tried to pass. And I failed probably, yeah, enough. But anyways, I just tried to pass them in one trade. Once I got them passed and they were, a live account or whatever you want to call it, a PA account, I held on to them. And then with my trading, I was just scalping, right? And it was the same thing. Like sometimes, I'd be trading minis. I might make $40, $60. It didn't matter to me because I would say, okay, what's 40 times 20? $800. Okay, fine. And I think it doesn't have to be 20 accounts, but even 5 or 10, I think you really need to do that if you're going to try to make a living off of prop firms. I mean, otherwise you have to take too much risk. And if you can't take 20 losses in your prop firm account, then you're sizing up too big. If you can't take 30 losses, for me it was like 45 to 60 depending on my position size. So it didn't matter. Even if I had 3 weeks of losses, I couldn't lose. There's no way I was going to lose 45 trades in a row. I mean, I had the data to prove it for years and years. So positioning small and not trying to get that huge amount on one account, but get that huge amount over 5 or 10 accounts, it adds up. You know what I mean? So I think that was a super important thing that I kind of came across eventually was the fact that you got to multiply them over multiple accounts. You can't be taking a huge risk on 1 or 2 or 3. So trade copiers are great for that. That saved me.
Yeah, that's definitely something that we should start doing some classes on, or the absolute risk and rewards, and then,
Yeah.
specifically how we're setting up our copy trade accounts and what works well for you on the settings and what to confirm, confirm that all your positions are closed out properly or whatnot. That's something you have to stay on top of, whether we're automating or not. We
Yeah.
cannot help the fact that when you're copy trading, not necessarily you're going to have latency, you're going to have a little bit of tick loss here and there, but
Yeah.
sometimes that works out in your favor and sometimes it doesn't. So it all depends on, which way the order falls on
If you
for you. But
Yeah, when you're doing a lot of counts, you do got to watch. Like every time a trade opens, you got to make sure they're all open. Got to make sure they're all closed. Sometimes you get stuck orders, and sometimes it's the broker's fault. Sometimes it's whatever. But yeah, you got to know how to deal with them and deal with them quick too. So I mean, once you get copying like past 10 and stuff, you really got to watch lag, right? Especially if you take 5 micros across 20 accounts. I mean, that's a lot of contracts to be filled. So I mean, it does introduce other things too as well. So, but you get there over time. That's why, like I said earlier, I started with 1 live account, 2, 3, 5, and then as these problems happened, I learned how to get quick at dealing with them as my account size grew, and I started adding more accounts to the copier. So, it's just something you learn along the way. But you got to be
Well,
confident in what you're doing.
I know when we were trading together, I mean, we would literally at worst be trading for an hour. I think our longest days were an hour and a half because you're literally taking one good trade and you're done. Maybe two on a crazy day, you'll take a second trade, but you're usually done within, 20, 30 minutes. You wait for that good setup. When you see it, when you see the whole market's rotating in your favor, you take that trade and you're out of it and you're done for the day. And you get to do that on 5 accounts and you're done for the day. One trade.
Yeah, I mean, if you're, I don't know, I think it's kind of ignorant to think that you should have 5 or 10 trades in a day. Like you know what I mean? Like it's kind of like the market's not there for you. It's not there, especially day trading. If you're investing, okay, maybe, but day trading, it's not really there for you to be making money like that. So, to think that, hey, I'm gonna, there's like 10 good opportunities every day for me. It really, honestly, you want to be real about it. There's probably about 3 good opportunities a week for most people. 3 like really good ones. Even the stuff that you take. If you go look at the charts for last week, you would probably say, you know what, a certain amount of time. You're not trading for 24 hours, but if you trade market open till noon, let's say, really, if you really looked at it, you would probably find that most weeks there's really only about 3 good opportunities.
That's how I
And
got
like
my
real
recent
good
payout, as a
ones.
matter of fact.
Is
I
it?
mean, I did that one week where I did the one, too large of a trade. I didn't trade for an entire week one time during that time frame. Now, I literally traded 10 days just recently and then 10 days prior to that. So 20 trading days, a full month. But at the beginning of the month, of last month, we're talking about, there would be 2 3 days that I wouldn't trade if the market
Yeah.
just wasn't behaving, and if I didn't have that smooth consistent leg coming in and it was all swiggly and all over the place, we weren't defined yet, I wouldn't trade. And if I missed my window, my time window, I wouldn't trade that day.
Yeah. Oh, that's good to hear. And that's why I say it kind of sucks going live. Because it does. If you're going to do it right, there's going to be days you're going to sit there, you feel like you got to make money, and you're sitting there and you force trades. And you know what? Realistically, I mean, you could trade more than 3 times a week, but I'm just saying, if generally, man, the real good setups, you're not going to get too many in a whole week, but it's just freaking hard to sit there for a whole week, especially when that's your only income, and not trade, but only trade the really good setups. But that's where your data comes in, man. I had a stack of papers. Every time I was sitting there, I would look at my stack of papers and I would say, no, I can't trade. Like, I know this already. But it's different on replay because you can kind of fast forward a little bit, right? So, or
Yeah.
you can trade a couple, like, you don't, when you're live, you trade today and you got to wait all the way until tomorrow before you can trade again. Replay, I could do a whole week in a day if I had the day off. So then it's fine. You get a losing day. You're like, okay, I hit my max loss for the day. All right, let's skip to the next day and try to make it back. Well, when you're live, you can't just skip to the next day and make it back, right? So you're sitting there, and this is where the discipline really comes in. So, besides that, man, actually, you were asking me something I didn't touch on. Becoming disciplined in my life outside of trading was actually a huge help. It really was. So it was taking care of my mental and physical health. Um, I stopped drinking, smoking, all that, and working a lot harder at my job, being a mechanic. I'd put more hours in, I'd work harder, I'd be more disciplined. My diet was on point, my exercise was on point. So, you know what? That was a huge one for me. It was just, you know what they say? And I learned this being a mechanic because they would say, okay, well, you got to keep, when I was an apprentice, keep your toolbox clean because if a customer sees that, you know, they're going to think, well, if you can't keep your toolbox clean and organized, how are you going to, work on my equipment and have it done correctly? You know what I mean? How am I going to be sure you're going to clean all the parts properly? So what they say is the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So I kind of applied that to trading, right? It's like, okay, well, if I got to be disciplined to trade, I got to be disciplined in all aspects of my life, right? So I think that's a huge one for everybody. It's just being disciplined in all aspects of your life. You know what I mean? Like, get rid of those impulsive behaviors. Make sure the diet's good. Make sure the sleep's good for you. I know you're busy, man, but you got to prioritize yourself as well. So, I mean, that was a big one for me. And once I started doing that, and I stuck to it, and I've been like that for years now. And I did it all for trading because I wanted nothing more in my life than that. So, I basically dedicated everything I did, everything I ate, every habit that I had. It was so I could be more disciplined for my trading, and it worked. But it was a whole life consuming thing for me, and it was tough, dude. For me, that's the only way I had to do it. Other people get luckier. I've seen people, not do any of that and be successful too. So, but everybody has their own way, and that was the only way I could do it. But I think that would help a lot of people no matter what. So
Yeah, and I think that's where the tools really lock that into because, I know we have been busy building the indicators and I've been, busy getting our products in the back end kind of done where the website's all, wrapped up. And we're getting to that point where we can now start finally getting into trading and getting our strategies kind of developed and helping people out because I think if they can just get in there and they start fine-tuning Generator, and I think you're working on a really good update for GeneratorX, that will kind of be that last major step to where we're able to really teach this thing how to trade the way that we like to trade, because you should only have several master signals a day on your chart, and if you don't get one, then you just don't take the trade. So that'll be the discipline for you, literally only get it to where those trades are 80% accurate. You're never going to get 100%. I think we're going to do well at 70%, but if we can get in that 70-80% range, get your presets adjusted and do replay after replay and then do sim account after sim account, and you should have those steady numbers coming in. But now, unless you see that master signal, then don't take the trade, and then only trade during the time windows that are going to give you the best results, because the time of the day is just as important as what's going on in the overall market. Is the entire market doing the same thing,
yeah,
or is just as a lucky trade? I think that's an important aspect.
and I believe in all times a day. But you got to be a specialist. You got to specialize in that. Whether it's the market open, the afternoon session, whatever. If you spend enough time on that time of day, you'll become a specialist on it. So yeah, I will show Generator. It's not done yet, but we're working on it. So we have condition types. So most of the users are going to recognize signal. They're going to recognize state, but they're going to see indicators a new one. So with indicator, it'll show you anything on the chart. So right now at the bottom I have RSI, so it shows RSI, and then there's an average RSI, and then there's the actual plot. I don't use RSI much. Which one is so the average is the yellow line, and then the actual RSI is the blue line. So Generator will show you both, and it auto populates. So I mean, it shows you everything on the chart. If I had other indicators, it would pop up on this list. And then I could say just the RSI line. Greater than 75, we'll say. So now users will be able to add a condition and say, hey, for whatever else, they would have their signals set up and everything like that. And then it would be usually an AND condition. Indicator RSI greater than 75. For a long, or you might say less than 75 for a short. So that's what I'm working on at the moment. It's not working perfectly yet, but it's in the works. So you're getting there. And then so once this is done, it'll lead into candle behaviors as well. So what it would be is, like, for example, if you have a moving average on the chart, let's see, it's got to let's reload this here real quick. So then you can see the moving average, EMA 14, EMA, and then there would be another one. It's not necessarily called indicator. It would be called candle behavior. And it would be candle, and then here's the indicator. There's the plot, and then it would be greater than. There wouldn't be a value. So with that next condition type, it would be, okay, well, everything else has to be true, but price has to be above that moving average, greater than the EMA, for a long, or you might say less than the EMA for a short. So that's kind of what's coming after indicator. There'll be a new type called candle, or candle behavior, because you could also do a doji above the EMA as well. So that'll be handy. That'll be a real good tool because it'll just make things simple, accessing the indicators directly like this. So, yeah, I mean, that's what I'm working on. We'll get there. I don't know what else. What else did we got? I didn't put anything else this week, did I, for indicators? Is there any ones you want to look at?
Well, we just did I know volume spike was one of my favorite ones because I honestly do look at volume behavior, and I know we're kind of like dabbling into the volume profile down the road, but like your volume spike was a really, I think, impressive
like that one?
indicator of all of them.
I think I showed, or no, I didn't know. Did we show that last week?
Yeah, we did a video on it. I put a video up for it.
Yeah, not in the podcast, so did we? Oh, okay. Yeah, so,
No.
okay, well, volume spikes is, okay, well, this is a daily chart, so, probably works better on a daily chart. Look at this.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, so all it is volume. It's just volume, really. But then there's a moving average. It defaults to 14. And then I've got lines. It's got one standard deviation above that moving average, and then two standard deviations above that. So basically the idea is, like I was saying before, when we were talking before in this podcast, about measuring market conditions relative to recent conditions. That's what this is for. So we've got the moving average. So this is how we're getting relative market conditions within the last 14 candles. So we've got that. And that's always going to be true. Like you can't I don't know how to explain it, but it's always going to be the last 14 candles no matter what. It doesn't matter if it's 400, 300K or 900K. The volume doesn't matter because it's only relative to the last 14 candles. In this case, the last 14 days. So, and it just prints a signal on the chart, and it's tradable. You can use it. It comes up with a name, volume spike 1, 2, and 3. So you can use it in Generator, AutoBot. And the way I use it is for reversals. I mean, you can see very clearly every time it passed one of the moving averages or it got up to the second standard deviation, it was a reversal. So generally when you get high volume, and definitely when you got a wick, so if you see this 50-50, the body and the wick, back here the wick was bigger than the body. Generally those are great reversal candles, but if you can add a volume spike to that, then it just gives you extra confirmation. So that's what volume spikes is. It's just an easy way to visualize abnormal amounts of volume, and then the standard deviations tell you how abnormal that volume is. So, yeah, I mean, we got some here, which is, it's not always right, but you would definitely want to put.
Well,
this
you could put
with
a
other
condition on
indicators.
basically. Well, you could say that, okay, you put a condition on that you need to have at least a volume spike 2 or 3 within the last, say, 4 candles of any bullish move. So whether that is whichever way, it seems like anytime we've either reversed up or reversed down significantly, we've had a volume spike just previous or at that
Yeah.
candle. So that's right there.
So you might say, I don't know, once we got a volume spike on the daily, once we break the high of that candle, I'll go long. That could be a simple
Yeah.
strategy, and it would work really well here. Look, there, the next day we didn't break it, but the day after we broke the high of that candle, gone. Same thing here, gone. Same thing here, gone. This one might have been, yeah, it might have been a little loss there, right? But you would do your risk reward and all that there.
Yeah,
Same thing
your
here,
number.
volume spike. Next day we didn't cross. The day after we just crossed. And then you just put your stop maybe at the low of that candle. That wouldn't be a prop firm strategy because you would have to hold overnight and stuff like that. This is a perfect one here. Look, bang, we push past that EMA, got the volume spike, gone. So, yeah, I mean that's not a new indicator. You've seen that one months and months ago. I just didn't put it out.
Yeah,
So,
but I just like the fact that how we're able to really distinguish, the presets. If we can get people digging into this and really playing around with it, you could put in your condition to say that, okay, you get a volume spike, and then as soon as you get a candle close above the EMA, you're there. It pretty much represents almost the same thing. You got a pretty
yeah,
decent trading strategy now that you're able to take.
yeah, that's good. Oh, I got a vendor notification here. So, I don't know which one of my indicators is going to expire, but
I think I have a couple of them now too, honestly.
okay, I got to get up to date with it. Yeah, if anybody gets that vendor notification, just let me know. Maybe sometimes I get behind in updating everybody in the system. There's a small grace period when you first download it. So once that grace period kind of gets close to ending, then you start getting this. So if I didn't go on the website or I didn't update your, if I didn't get your machine ID, then definitely make sure that's in your dashboard. But yeah, if you ever get this, just email us, or if you got me on Discord, just hit me up and say, hey, make sure I'm added. That's all that is. So yeah, you can see this right here. See on the right here in the middle, Greg? NQ. See
Yeah.
that big gap?
Yeah.
There's a big wall of orders there. See, it's only about
Yeah.
11 here at that price, but then as soon as you go to the next tick, it goes right up to almost like 40 something. That's what I look for in the depth chart. I look for big step ups like that, and you know that there's all of a sudden there's a big wall of orders there.
Of sell orders coming in right where the price is at.
There's a high volume of them sitting there, yeah,
Yeah.
above the market. So if I were to click, you could see, okay, at 25,000 and 050 probably 375. Yeah, so that's what I look for, big walls like that. So then if we're looking at that's the 240 minute, but if we looked at like a 1 minute or something like that, see what's going on. Yeah, see it's coming down because it's gonna have a hard time getting past that. And you look at the shape too. Sometimes they go up like exponential, or sometimes they go up steep and then curve back. You got to watch it a lot to kind of get used to it. See, there's a little jump up right there too. See, that's why it's going down. There's a big wall. See, there's another wall. Yeah. There's a lot of orders sitting up top. And then if we open up the DOM, we could probably see a bit of that volume there. NQ. See, you can see there's a little bit more volume there than there is here. Holding it down. But yeah, I don't know. That's pretty much that. Anything else you got going on?
Yeah, I'm getting ready to work on some of our animated videos again, and I know this time I'm doing one that's a little differently this time. So this time I'm kind of like going over what AI is doing in the market, like how AI is practically exploding and it's starting to take over almost anybody's livelihood. I mean, I know Jat is a big example of that, and even with my job, I'm looking at in the next 5 years, are self-driving trucks going to be something that's competing for my job specifically? No, but I would say in the next 10 years, yeah, we're going to start seeing some problems because you're going to see companies like FedEx and DHL and Amazon, all the big freight companies that have these big DC to DC orders, and they're going to start getting their self-driving trucks in there. And if those DCs are too far away, they'll throw a drop lot in between there. So anybody's job is at risk. I mean, I seen a YouTube video the other day that was just absolutely cracking me up. You've got this, guy that is busting his butt on a ride lawnmower, mowing grass, and he looks to the left, and he's got this little AI robot that is just zooming up and down, going twice as fast as he is. No job is safe right now. So there's a way to get around that. You could either watch and let AI take over your job, or you could really start taking control over AI and kind of like what we're doing. You could learn it, you can make it your own, and you can start really making a reality of it, because I think it's literally unlimited to your imagination what you can do with it, but you got to get out there and get in front of it.
Yeah, I mean that's important. You really got to think about what's at risk here as far as jobs. And yeah, I saw that video where Buddy looked over and there's a robo lawnmower cutting the grass, and he's like, oh shit. So yeah, well,
nothing is safe, man.
You'd be surprised how easy. Yeah, I mean, Easel put up his first AI video there. He posted in the group chat, and you know what? It was really good. It was pretty good. So,
first try, and we were like, he was like, "Hey, can you go
fully
over
animated video like before?"
Yeah.
If you were to make that before, like I don't know when, like even probably a year ago, but maybe 2-3 years ago, like something like that. I don't even know how you would make it. Probably weeks. I don't know. Like it was complete automation. Like it's like Pixar movie level stuff, right? You'd have to make the character and you'd have to do all the physics and like ridiculous amount of work to make something that a completely automated video. and then he just made one with a couple of prompts. So, I mean, for the
Yeah.
people that learn AI, you can really just get onto it, try doing some stuff. Um, I know Easel's planning to get in on the affiliate program, so he's gonna, start getting some followers on YouTube, and he's gonna try to make a couple of bucks there as well as trading. So he's doing really well with that. So I mean, if Easel can make a video and he's never done it, a lot of people can. So I mean, I encourage anybody just to kind of gain a following if you can. That's one way to make money online. Despite AI, you can use AI to get your following. So yeah, he did
Yeah,
a really
because
good
if you
job.
could use yeah, because if you could use AI to start literally going after and doing videos for you, so now you have it helping you produce your videos. You've got AI that can help monitor your channel after you've gotten a little bit of content on there, and it's going to show you exactly how to improve your channel. So you can make money on just growing your YouTube following by doing some animated videos. You can make money just by doing what we're doing, trading with AutoX Bot and developing your strategy and start trading on as a side income. You could take advantage of AI by doing that. I mean, doing the affiliate program. It's just,
Yeah.
I think the potential is unlimited. You could either sit back and let it take over, and then you're sitting here scratching your head like, okay, what do I do now? Or, we still have time. AI is still just coming out, but now is the great time to start learning it and get into it and finding out what niche you want to be involved in and just jumping into it with both feet and getting it done.
And I think trading's perfect for that. Some of the best times trading have been when I was distracted, looking at other things, not trying to make a trade, letting the trade jump out at me. So if somebody's like looking to go full time, well, get a little side income, get something else going online too, so you can not have to sit there and try not to trade and try to be disciplined. You can kind of do couple things at once and get yourself online, not just by trading, but also by having a little bit of a side income too. I mean, I think that's the important part about trading is spreading your time out a little bit. You can only trade for so long. You're not going to sit there 24 hours. So if anybody does want to be full time, what else are you going to do? That would be the question I would ask. Okay, you're going to trade. What else are you going to do? Trust me, you got a lot of time in the day, especially if you get up early. You got a lot of time in the day to do stuff. So I would think about that too. What can you do for side income? Get yourself online, get yourself home. I think that's the most important part. Whatever you can do to get yourself not leaving the house every day, I think that should be the big goal for anybody. And use trading if you want a full time, sure, or if you want to use it as a side income. But do something. You got a lot of time, and I mean, you can only backtest so much. You can only review charts so much. You're still probably going to have 4 or 5 hours a day to do stuff if you're not leaving for your job every day. So definitely something to look at. Just getting online in general. Aside from beyond trading. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, there's just the options are unlimited, and we're really trying to help do the best, to kind of get these options to people, because yeah, now you're going to be able to make money by trading the bot and putting some work into it. And it is going to take work and you're going to be able to get it done though. But now I think you can make money just by our affiliate program is just going to be unmatched. Our commission structure, for somebody that you refer is just completely greater than what anyone else is offering right now in anywhere in this industry.
yeah, I'm really proud of that program. That's definitely a great way to get a side income. I mean, you could record your trading and put it on YouTube, and you could make money that way. So, or do other things. I mean, there's so many little jobs you can do, like data input and whatever. I've seen other jobs, customer service representative. You can do that from home. They just train you for a little bit. You go on, you just sit there on standby, and when somebody calls, you just answer. I mean, there's a ton of things you can do online.
Oh my goodness,
So
it's crazy. I mean, I learned literally just by building our website. I did one of my first just production level sales on a car dealership where I bought my car and my wife's car at, and he's like, "Man, I really need a website. Could you put it together?" And I literally did it over that weekend. I had it 90% done. And, okay, that's a great. I sold one website, but no, it's a completely self-managed, website. So okay, you can go do some scraping on Google Maps and literally find every car dealership in the country and send them a freaking email. And again, this is an automatable process to find those emails and find those auto dealerships and then have them send a custom email out to people. And, hey, I can sell that same website 1,000 times, but so can anybody. Anybody can do that.
Yeah.
There's just it's unlimited what you can think of. You could pretty much do it nowadays with AI, and you could do it on the side, dude. I work 12 to 14-hour days, then I spend another 2 to 5 hours a day after that job working on getting our website built up, getting the affiliate program going. There's always something that you and I are doing. You're doing an update or trying to get an indicator finished out, and I'm trying to work on the next update for us. So there's always something going on, but we're doing that by, we're maneuvering a lot of stuff that's going on. So I mean, I know if I could do it, I hate that cliche part of if I could do it, anybody can do it, but it's true. I mean, dude, I drive a truck for a living. I don't have a complicated job. I'm not a data scientist or a programmer or an engineer because those guys are at risk too, losing their job.
Yeah.
Everybody's really open right there, but you can
Yeah.
do that, I think,
Doc.
unless you're gonna want to go work in the service, field, being a plumber and electrician,
Yeah.
you got to figure something out.
Yeah. Especially, it's kind of funny. Like, lawyers and doctors are really at risk, dude. I've seen some really crazy AI stuff with doctors, like machines diagnosing things, and lawyers. I mean, you can ask AI about certain legal situations, and it does a really, really good job. And we're just getting started into AI. Like, it doubles probably every couple of months in its, in how good it is. So, yeah, I mean, even high level jobs are starting
Yeah.
to lose value. So,
That was
if
one of the micro application ideas that I come up with that, I wanted to do. And somebody made a video about AI helping them with writing you for credit repair, writing a letter to the credit bureau to dispute a charge on there. And I'm like, well, hell, I could build an entire application around that to where it literally runs your entire credit report. People would pay like $200 a month because I've done it before. I had horrible credit back in the day, and I think I spent like $200 a month. And their entire goal for a credit repair agency is to keep you as a client as long as they can. So they'll get you a couple of things off your credit a month to keep you happy, but just enough to keep you happy, but keep you coming back as well too. Whereas you could build an app that charges less than $20 a month for it, and you're going after volume more people and help people out. So, the things are endless of what AI can do for you. So it could either take over your job or you can learn how to build the darn thing and freaking sell it.
yeah,
That's my point.
yeah, it's good stuff. All right, well, we're pretty
Yeah,
much at our time for this one. So,
I think so.
good little chat, and yeah, that's our second podcast. Pretty well, and yeah, hopefully this week was another good week for us. And the group, I see a lot of people really getting on to the to the software and starting to feel it out and starting to learn it. Easel just posted in the group. Did you see that? He had
No, I didn't.
yeah. Go look in chat right now.
Hang on, I'm heading over there right now.
Yeah, Easel. He just had. It looks like he had.
Boom. That was the candle. Boom.
There you go. Yeah. So you got in on a master signal there. It looks like, and
Yeah.
then yeah. So that would have
And
been a fully automated trade. So yeah, that was pretty cool.
yeah, that's beautiful, man. I love it. I
Yeah.
absolutely love it.
So
I mean, we were talking to a friend of ours that we both we used to trade with in your other Discord, and let me tell you, man, it's some of the stuff, man, it's crazy. Like we haven't even scratched the surface of what's capable. You and I are just kind of getting the handle of this, but you and I really just started really using AI to help, us along a little bit. Yeah, there's a lot of us in this as well too. I get that. But we couldn't do this on our own. We couldn't launch the company that we're launching now and
yeah.
doing this. I mean, so that's
Did you
we're
are you talking about Holy Moly, Mr. Stochastic?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Did you
yeah,
listen
Mr.
to that
Stochastic.
video I put up?
Yeah, that man is an absolute freaking genius for what he's doing. I mean, and it's
I was blown
again
away.
really,
He's going to school for it, right? For AI and
yeah.
finance and everything. He's going to. It's like the Netherlands. He went from Greece to the Netherlands to go to school to learn this shit. But yeah, the thing is, his brother and his cousins and everybody, they all know how to code and do AI and stuff. So one of them is his cousin, I think, is like an AI specialist or something like that. So yeah, down the
Yeah.
road, I definitely want to get into, once I get our products good, like Generator and Autobot,
Oh yeah.
better, then yeah, I'm gonna start doing an API, and then I'll run like a machine learning in Python and connect it to NinjaTrader. I've used them before a couple of years ago, so they
Yeah.
weren't as good as they are now. But yeah, definitely you can connect machine learning right into NinjaTrader. So um,
That's where I'm going next is
yeah,
these
that's the
workflows
next
through
step, right?
N8N. It's a literally a takes our website and it does what GeneratorX did to AutoX Bot. These
Yeah.
workflows work in the background and they just take multiple AIs. You're able to pull in data exactly the way you're asking for it. You can then kind of clean that data up where it can read better. Then you send it all together to get analyzed, and then it's
Hmm.
just you've got all these functionalities and tables. And again, these are self-learning engines. It's able to tell
Yeah.
you exactly what's happening in the market in real time with AI, with DeepSeek running one level of it. You've got Open AIs running a market sentiment, and it's all pulling that data together to give you a good analysis, and it's able to throw up your chart right there and tell you exactly what's going to happen. And then every time it tells you what's going to happen, it's logging that, and it's literally going to go back and look and say, okay, well, how accurate was I? Was I off? What can I do next? Because you just
Yeah.
give it those definable parameters, and it just starts kind of adjusting itself as it's doing more predictions and more models for you.
Yeah. Well, he was running. What did he call it? Monte Carlo or something
Yeah,
like that.
Monte Carlo.
So
Yeah, the Monte
yeah,
Carlo.
what it was doing was it would take, okay, well, here's like, you define like one thing, and then it would say, okay, well, if I change the settings for like, you know, higher for like 50 levels and lower for 50 levels, how would it work out? So it basically does all scenarios. It'll do like, a couple hundred scenarios for the same trade and see which one would be best, and then it does that for every single trade. So, but the way I would do it if we were to run machine learning, so the API would be like the bridge between NinjaTrader and the machine learning. But then what I would do is I would make that be able to control Autobot. So what it would do is it would read conditions, and it would say, okay, the conditions are prime for a shift signal now, and it would turn automation on. It would turn longs on, or turn longs off, and turn shorts on, or turn them both on, and it would do that. The machine learning would turn the automation on and off as required based on what it saw. So that's how it would work. So you put whatever indicators you want, it would know, hey, you know what, when I see this, that, and the other thing, very high chance that, a shift signal is going to work right now. And it would turn
Yeah,
automation on in Autobot. So you would have a machine learning turning Autobot on and off as needed. How cool is that? And I can do
running
it.
running thousands of permutations of this, like back to back, whatever you
Yeah.
have on your chart. It's sitting
And
back there running thousands of models of this at the same time.
yeah, and I can do that. So, I mean, that's really where I want to go with this. And until we get there, I mean, I'm not going to stop. So that should
No.
be probably mid to late next year. We'll probably be there,
Yeah, I
which should
would
be
say
pretty
so.
cool.
I mean, the workflows for me are just take to the next level of what I need to understand and learn to build them because they are incredibly complicated. But by just building, the GammaXTrading.com website, we've got literally 4 APIs running in the back end of our website. We have a SQL server. We've got our affiliate programming that we had to literally hard code into our website to be able to pull the data from our paywall and be able to get that information and put it over to the affiliate program. So just by learning how these backends work together and interact with each other, that's all these workflows do basically are just different APIs and different AIs working together. And if you can understand that, we are able to build that. And that's
Yeah,
definitely where we're going.
yeah, it's definitely where you need to be.
Cool episode,
But
man. I had a great time.
yeah, I did too. I did too. So I'm sure we'll get better as time goes on. But
As always, man.
yeah, for now, that's good enough. Okay, man. Well,
All right.
take care. And
You too, my friend.
yeah, we'll see you next week.
We'll see y'all next Sunday.